Okay, so final part of this Edexcel exam paper. Question 22. Ivan is part of a team making bags to give away. You have 140 discount vouchers, 56 pencils, and 280 sweets to share in all his bags. He uses all the vouchers, all the pencils, and all the sweets. He makes as many bags as possible. The content is the same in each bag. Okay, so we're going to treat this like a ratio. So we have vouchers, 140, pencils, 56, and sweets, 280. And these have to stay in proportion with each other. So we're going to try and simplify this ratio. So because all my terms are even, I'm going to divide by 2. So that becomes 70. 56 divided by 2 becomes 28. And 280 divided by 2 becomes 140. I'm then going to check again. And again, all my terms are even. So I'm going to divide by 2 again. 70 divided by 2 is 35. 28 divided by 2 is 14, and 140 divided by 2 is 70. Again, keep going down. 35, 14, and 70. This time I can't divide by 2 because 35 is an odd number, but 35, 14, and 70 are all divisible by 7. So I'm going to divide by 7. 35 divided by 7 gives me 5. 14 divided by 7 gives me 2, and finally 70 divided by 7 gives me 10. So that means the smallest amount I can get is 5 discount vouchers, 2 pencils, and 10 sweets in each bag. So I'm going to put that in now, 5, 2, and 10. And how many bags we used? Well, because we divided by 2 and 2 and 7, I'm just going to do 2 times 2 times 7, and that gets me the answer 28. So that means there are 28 bags, and each bag has 5 vouchers, 2 pencils, and 10 sweets inside. A line L has an equation, y equals 12 minus 4x. Write down an equation of a different line that is parallel to L. So when we have equations, they're normally in the form y equals mx plus c, where m is whatever's in front of our x. In this case, it's our minus 4, and this is our gradient, so this is how steep the line is. So any equation which will have minus 4x will be parallel to this. So we can simply write y equals 10 minus 4x. And this number can be replaced by any other number and it will still be parallel because it's the minus 4 in front of the x which determines how steep or what the gradient of our equation is. Question 24 says factorize 3x squared minus 4xy. So when we're factorizing, we're looking for common factors. In this case, there are 2 terms, 3x squared and minus 4x. The numerical values 3 and 4, there is no common factor there, but there is an x in this term and an x in that term. So x is what's going to come outside my bracket, and 3x squared divided by x leaves me with 3x, minus 4xy divided by x leaves me with minus 4y, and then I can close my bracket. So my answer is x, open bracket, 3x minus 4y. 25 says simplify 14 square root of 5 take away 3 square root of 5. And what we can do is we can just say, well, we don't need to know what the square root of 5 is, but we know we've got 14 of something and we take away 3 of that same thing, and 14 take away 3 is 11. So we've got 11 lots of whatever we're talking about, and we happen to be talking about the square root of 5. So the answer there is simply 11 square root of 5. 4 to the power 10 times by 4 to the power minus 7. So when we're talking about our rules of indices, if we have things with the same base 4, we add our powers. So we're simply going to do 10 and we're going to add on minus 7. 10 add minus 7 is 3. So our answer is going to be 4 to the power 3, which is 4 cubed. So the value of 4 cubed, if you don't know it, we can work it out, which would be 4 cubed is 4 times 4 times 4, which gives us the answer 64. Question 26. xy equals 1. Explain why either x nor y can be 0. So x is being times by the y, and if you times by 0, the answer is 0. So if x was 0, 0 times whatever y is, we'd get the answer 0, which we don't, because we know our answer is 1. And if y was 0, whatever x is, if we times it by 0, we'd get the answer 0, which we know we can't because our answer has to be 1. On the axis below, sketch the graph y equals 1 over x. Okay, so this is one of the graphs which you should know and be able to recognise, and it looks like this. And it will never touch these axes because it will never touch the 0, because y and x cannot be 0. So as it approaches the axis, it just gets steeper and steeper, or shallower and shallower. It will go forever and it will never touch the sides, the axes. Complete the sentence about the graph. The graph shows y is something proportional to x. Okay, so the word is inversely. So it's inversely proportional, because as y gets bigger, x will get smaller, and if x gets bigger, y will get smaller. The variables v and p are connected by the equation v over p squared equals 5. Find the value of v when p equals 0.1. So the first thing I'm going to do is rearrange this equation to be v equals 5p squared, by timesing both sides of my equation by p squared. So v equals 5 times whatever p is squared, and p is 0.1 squared. 0.1 squared is 0.1 times 0.1, which is 0.01. And 5 times 0.01 is 0.05. So v would equal 0.05. Our final question. We are almost at the end of this paper. Cinema has a standard seat and a premier seat. Omar and Fatima each book some tickets. Right, so the first line tells us 3 standard tickets, so I'm going to write 3s, and 2 premier, so I'm going to write plus 2p, and he pays £30, so that equals 30. We then have 2 standard tickets plus 4 premier tickets, and that costs £40. So when we have simultaneous equations like we've just set up, what we want to do is we want to try and eliminate one of our variables, either our s's or our p's. And to do that, we want to manipulate our equations so we have the same number of s's or the same number of p's. And in this case, I'm going to take this first line and times it by 2. So instead of buying 3 standard tickets, we're going to double that, and we're going to buy 6 standard tickets. Instead of buying 2 premier, we're going to double it, 4 premier, and the cost of this, instead of being £30, will be double, and it will be £60. Now I'm going to take away the 2 standard plus the 4 premier equals 40. So now I can do this subtraction. 6 standard take away 2 standard leaves me with 4 standard tickets. 4 premier take away 4 premier leaves me with nothing, and 60 take away 40 is 20. So now I know 4 standard tickets cost £20, and if I divide by 4, I get 1 standard ticket equals £5. So I can then use this equation, I can then use this information that 1 standard ticket equals £5, and I can bring it back into one of these. So I'm going to bring it back, and I'm going to say, well, 3 standard tickets is 3 times 5 plus 2 premier tickets equals £30, and 3 times 5 is 15 plus 2 premier tickets cost £30. Take 15 from both sides, 2 Premier tickets cost £15, divide both sides by 2, and I get 1 Premier ticket costs £7.50. So the difference in these is £7.50, subtract my £5, which leaves me with £2.50. So there are 5 marks available for this question. Make sure that you explain your answer fully. We're converting it into algebra. We're multiplying one or both equations to make one of our variables the same. We can then subtract to eliminate one variable, solve, substitute back into the other one to solve for the other one. Okay. Thanks for watching.